Have you ever been in a room when a child was born? Have you ever broken a heart?
Now I'll ask and you answer. Have you been hypnotized? Do you keep a diary? Do you worry while walking alone at night?
We're just going to kind of jump into it just to see what we learn and how it goes. We're going to do this thing, and at some point you're going to be asked to leave.
You have to start somewhere, so why not here? You have to start somewhere, so why not? You have to start somewhere, so why not here? You have to start somewhere, so why not?
See me now, sitting on a train. Nod when you have it.
Why not here? Why not here? Why not here? You have to start, so why not here? So why not? You have to start somewhere, so why not? Why not here? Why not here?
Picture me alone.
Will you follow me?
I'm alone too. On this boat.
Here we are together.
We had to start somewhere.
We had to start somewhere.
Why not here?
Why not here?
One of us here
is in the middle of a heartache.
One of us here
Is holding a secret.
One of us here
Has a sinking feeling.
One of us here
Is ready.
so ready.
And in 6 months,
And in 6 months
we will not recognize them.
we will not recognize them.
One of us here
One of us here
will be the first to go.
will be the first to go.
Become
We wish
something.
you well.
Then it's really cool, but the sort of Beckett, like,
Yeah,
you know,
running in
existential running in place is, for me, maddening.
The next 3 lines, person 1, and then on our own going through, so we start coming up with names for things. The next,
That was number 2?
that was number 1.
Once you're there, keep one book and pass the rest.
There is a journey we have to go on. There is a journey. Somehow, we do it. Somehow, we have to go on.
Will you raise your hand if you can hear me?
I hope you can hear me. I hope it's not a burden. I hope it's not a pain. It will be all right to mess it up.
This is where we all ended up. What if we never get to where we are going? And instead, here we are.
There will be no archive or notion, no note-taking, please.
No scribe, no translator, no interpreter, no reporter, no report, no way to go back.
Can everybody take their chair and go back 3 feet?
We start with a story. One that begins. One that begins right now. That sound, this weather, my voice. You listening.
We will trip a little. We will stumble. We will not get it perfect. Will you raise your hand if you can hear me?
Who is brave? Who is kind?
Let's pass this box. When you get to one, ask it, look for a show of hands, and I would say when you finished it, don't put it back in the box. Otherwise we'll be here till 2027.
Who is stuck? Is religious? Is looking for love? Who is in physical pain? Who here is a doctor?
Who here needs to see a doctor? And who here is a teacher?
Who here is ambitious?
Who has trouble sleeping?
Who here is sad?
Who here is stubborn?
Who is brave?
Eventually, we take all these chairs and we use them. We build something with them. We take apart anything that's in here and we use the raw materials to build rooms. When we get bored, we invent something new.
The section about who here is, who here has, our agenda there is to create a space for seeing one another. From the beginning, we learned that this is a mechanically rhythmic kind of a thing. And so I think that also locks us into a rhythm in a way. That this is a story. This is a story that begins. This is the beginning. I saw a lot of, who here is hungry? Who here is, actually not really clocking to get a sense of who was who. And that was something that maybe a little bit we did, but you actually revealed it, which is you said that you were
Anxious about.
You were anxious of your line.
Right.
Coming up.
Pay attention.
We've been making this piece 1,000 ways. It's a 3-part piece, and it has meant to span this sort of pandemic time frame from part 1 over the telephone, isolation.
So the word apocalypse in Greek actually means an unveiling. Its most common use was to talk about the final unveiling, which is why the book of Revelation in the Christian New Testament you mentioned is also called the Apocalypse of John. The message of the book of Revelation to those who read it and believed in it was like, wow, things are bad now. The Romans are terrible. They're oppressing us. God has promised that he's going to destroy these Romans and that the true believers are going to live a great life hereafter. So there is this hopeful element in apocalyptic literature.
And you and I are standing across from each other outside, and you can feel the air getting colder.
This is your birthday song. It isn't very long.
I tell you pieces about my old life. I am from the Springs.
Can we pause here? Does someone have the instruction to stand up after a song has been sung?
What are the chances of our success? The chances are slim at best. But God-given talent, that's not an idea we keep. The only exception is for those of us who sing. That is the only exception. For that, there's another word that translates to human magic.
And the people who sing, give them respect. Because it is the singers that will tend to us when our topics are unsung. When we have pains that we cannot write, when we do not have words, or
What happened to number 7?
To the second
Yeah.
meter of E, I don't know.
They did
It
not.
just didn't get set properly, and I should have gone through and double checked all this preset.
The last 2 days we've had showings. The prep of this system is so complicated that that's a feeling to me that it's a sign to me that something's wrong. We were aware at the Green Mountain Falls showing is like giving people a card with like, here's your cue, you know, don't, when this happens, open your box, or when this happens, stand and read, means that people are now focused. Either they're going to focus on the performance or they're going to miss their cue, and then we've got a problem. The last thing that we want to create in a performance is lack of presence. Like, the only reason to make a show like this with an audience performing it is to facilitate being together. And so if we're asking people to like physically be together, but like actually emotionally, mentally be elsewhere, wrong.
I mean, I felt anxiety that, okay, that woman over there, I see that she's going to screw up, and I'm worried about it.
Yeah, there was a lot.
Is that cool? Or is there a way
Yeah.
to like, no, we're all this together,
Right.
no one's going to screw up.
Right.
No one's going to screw up,
Or,
right?
or we can screw up and the system is built to accept our humanness.
What if in those mistakes, in an almost palindromic way, if you go A before B, does it change the meaning instead of you do B before A? If you could, and I ask this, is there a way to create a divergence to make somebody choose which direction we take? That we ultimately get to the same point, but if you switch the order of two things, does it change your meaning?
We thought that it was possible to be in control.
We could use words to try to describe the things we remember.
The words we use are not enough.
And they
are
insufficient, not enough.
Maybe this is enough because it is all we have. Maybe this is sufficient.
Suddenly, it's been years that have gone by.
Sometimes there's singing, sometimes there's crying. I learned to sing very high. You teach me parts in another language. And then we realize we should be
woman comes in her own special way to the people.
An elevated musical moment like that out of left field, like you can't beat that.
Yeah. Something new.
You can no longer see the walls.
Or this floor.
Or that ceiling.
You say it. You say it. You say it one more time.
Wise men say, but I can't help falling in love with you.
The performative aspect of any social interaction, like I'm thinking last night, people chose to come and to present themselves in a particular way, dressed in a particular way.
Yeah, right.
And to that extent,
It was custom.
it's costume.
Because, okay, so coming from the film perspective, everybody always wants to say, you know, you do an interpretation of a film, and they will say, very often the director will say, but some other people will say too, well, that's not what they meant to say.
Yeah.
That isn't what they meant to do. To which my answer is, I don't care. It's there. What I can read in a film or in any performance that may or may not be consciously intended, there's an awful lot of what we do, including how we react to somebody in a conversation on the phone or across a table, that is performative. And I felt like that was a lot of what you all were working on. You know, the kinds of questions. How much of this is just an authentic, another problematic word, but an authentic response, and how much of it is, okay, how do I present myself?
And I almost wonder, like, to your point, if there's a way where at the end there's something that people don't know what they're creating, but they've created it.
It's more to get to the point that we want. It's we would need to end with one, because I think the feeling of going from a group to one is actually one of like grounding, as opposed to going from one to a group is like.
I felt alone after part 1. I felt alone after part 2. After this one, I don't feel alone. And I think that's because I am not left alone. Everybody leaves in their cars, but I'm not alone.
We're trying to create a abstract expression that captures where we are in this moment in time. And our way to do that is to have one person first gasp like an actor, and then gasp even louder, and then gasp while staring at all of us.
How many of us have trouble sleeping? How many of us are worried? Will you take a moment and think about what worries you?
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. That was fun. Ignore that.
I'm scared of my friends getting deployed to Afghanistan.
Could you let out an audible gasp? Now, can you do it once again, but this time louder? Now, just like that, but slower. And can you open your eyes as wide as you possibly can? That gasp, that is where we are.
I will be angry until I am not. I am alive until I am not. We are together until we leave. Until, one by one, or maybe all together, we fall and falter. We fall to the ground, and our bodies become just another object. And we are eaten by ants and birds, covered by reeds, or our bones dry up, turn to dirt. Join me if you know it. Wise men say, only fools rush.
We will fall, we will fumble, our bodies will become another object. Like basically that speech about dying, to like go from that into the parking lot.
There's no I?
Yep.
You know?
Yep.
Thank you, everyone, and thank you for being here. So my name is Abby, that's Michael across from me. We are 600 Highwaymen. We make new original performances. We're based in New York City. This is actually our second time working here at UCCS. We came here in 2016 to develop our project, The Fever, which was a performance that premiered at the Public Theater in New York. It went on to tour about 30 cities internationally, and we wouldn't have been able to do that had we not had such a wonderful place to come and actually refine the work and develop it. But we've been here working on our project 1,000 ways. Part 1 and Part 2 are already finished. We actually performed them here, and maybe some of you had opportunities to do them. But now we're working on Part 3, which is a totally new endeavor. We cannot try things, test things, write things, experiment with things without you. So thank you.